And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Hi everyone, welcome to Alaska Weather. This is Meteorologist Joel Curtis, and the forecasts are issued Thursday, April 3rd. Let's get started with our warnings and watches. Most of them are out in the west and southwest. We've got the Kuskokwim Delta, and Nunivak Island has a blizzard warning until 7 p.m. Friday. For the eastern Aleutians, we have a winter storm, and that's going to be until 4 p.m. on Friday. For the Yukon Delta Coast, we have the winter weather advisory, and that's until 7 a.m. now on Saturday. And also a special weather statement for the Pribilofs for 50 miles an hour wind and some snow. So let's take a look at our satellite. If you see that streak along the west coast and it goes across the eastern Aleutians, that is the area that yesterday was kind of a leaf cloud of ice crystals coming up, but now it's become a more or less stationary front, and that's where the precipitation is. You can see it on all the radars and easily delineated on the satellite imagery, but also note that there's a band of precipitation now moving to, at least toward south central, and the main low is well south of Kodiak Island right now. So you can see the satellite loop. That low is moving up. It's still kind of slow moving, and it's weakening as it comes up, but it's still moving. And yet, the front in the west is still pretty stationary. It's just hanging in there. So, here's what tonight is going to look like. Kind of a stationary front through southwestern Alaska on up into about the central regions, about the middle Yukon or so. Snow out ahead of that on the west side because that's where the cold air is. Borderline snow or rain right on the front in the southern section, so that would be Bristol Bay and then on down to the low pressure system. A full occluded front around the low, a warm front stretching way out to the east, and a cold front associated with the system, and then the trough sweeps through and goes all the way over into British Columbia and even Alberta. And then there's also a system in Siberia, but that isn't going to take much effort up there. So let's look for Friday. Still that stationary front. Plenty of snow on the cold side of it, freezing precipitation or mixed rain and snow all along the immediate front. And then on the warm side, except for the higher elevations, you've got rain. And so there's a lot of rain in the forecast for most places. The sunny weather is really over for southeast Alaska. I know you guys have really enjoyed it, but not to be for the next few days. So now that low has moved up a little bit more, 974 millibars on the full occluded front. And then for Saturday, stationary front. But notice a little weak low has formed on that front, about 995 millibars. The main low, which is now closer to Kodiak Island, but still pretty far offshore, 980 millibars, full occluded front wrapped around it. Snow on the far western side, mixed precipitation closer to the front, a little warmer air sneaking around with that front, and then plenty of precipitation out over the Gulf of Alaska and snow at the higher elevations in south central and the southeast. And then for Sunday, all that front structure has been lasting too long, and it just really breaks down into a series of troughs. That low that was in the central interior is now kicked out to the northern end of the Alcan and actually into Canada. And then there's some precipitation all along the west side of that. Still colder air on that side, so we expect to see snow, maybe a little mix. Also, that system that was over in Siberia now starts to manifest itself because it's joined up and become part of the trough. In the meantime, a whole new system way out south of the far western Aleutians And all the frontal systems now are reforming well to the south, but note, there's still plenty of precipitation out over the Gulf, and it's hitting southeast Alaska, and also the Wrangell-St. Elias Mountains are getting plenty of snow. So, let's look at our temperatures. Still a few single digits in the North Slope on Friday morning, ramping up into the teens as you get further south. Plenty of 20s in the central interior, but in the 30s and even up to 40 degrees as you get further down the Kenai Peninsula. Temperatures mainly in the 30s, but you got 40 around Sitka. That's a warmer ocean effect. 23 for the Pribilofs, 38 for Kodiak, and then as you go out the Alaska Peninsula, definitely in the 30s. And you get further west, you can see that colder air with even lower temperatures below freezing, including on Alaska, which is getting the snow. So now for Friday afternoon, single digits, but on the plus side for the North Slope. Moving on down, plenty of 40s in the central interior and 50s in south central for upper 40s and lower 50s for southeast Alaska, 44 for Kodiak. And then as you get further going out the Aleutians, you can see that temperature dropping off, but wait. Adak has warmed up a little bit to 40, but note that St. Paul has still got 30 degrees and St. Lawrence Island 21. So there's still plenty of cold air on that west side of that stationary system. And then for Saturday morning, again, single digits, mostly in the negatives for the North Slope. As you get down, plenty of 20s for the central interior. And then in the 30s and 40s for South Central, because that warm air now has come up and plenty of cloud cover, so you don't get that clear skies at night, you get the radiative cooling. Then for Southeast, they're in the clouds and precipitation, so their low temperatures are well in the 40s. And then as you go out the Alaska Peninsula, again, 40s. And then when you get to Dutch Harbor, it's about 33, 32 degrees. And as you go further out the Aleutians, it's still below freezing. St. Paul, 26. And then you have to get all the way out to Shimya to get a 35. So Saturday afternoon, single digits again for the North Slope. Looking for 40s in the central interior. Some readings in the 50s for the Kenai Peninsula and also for Talkeetna and Golconda. Lots of 40s and lower 50s for southeast Alaska on down to Kodiak Island. 40s as you go out the peninsula, but wait, take a look. You know, the Unalaska is still like 36 degrees. 31 for the Pribilofs in that cold air, and all along the west coast you can see temperatures below freezing. So, for our 6 to 10 day outlook, and that was issued this morning, for April 9th through April 13th, for the western half of our forecast area for the state, we've got good chances of below normal temperatures. And then as you get to the eastern half, good chances of above normal temperatures. What that says to me is that in long range, we're seeing northerly flow aloft on the west and southerly flow aloft in the east. So how does that mean for the precipitation? Well, we're looking at normal for a good portion of the state, but below normal in the northerly flow aloft for the southwest, and then at least a chance of it being below normal all the way up to Nome, Kodiak, and Alaska. But as you get over into southeast, there's a slight chance of it being above normal precipitation. After all, this is their dry time of year. And then for our 8 to 14 day, April 11th through April 17th, again, below normal temperatures in the west, but a slight chance of above normal temperatures for the southern tier, especially as you get closer to the Gulf of Alaska. And then for our precipitation, normal for much of the state, but below normal for the southwestern portion, including Anchorage and the Kenai Peninsula, also going out the Alaska Peninsula and into the Pribilofs, and then for southeast Alaska, a slight chance of above normal precipitation. Again, their dry time of year, it's pretty easy to do that. So folks, lots of weather going on. Thanks for tuning in, and please stay safe out there.